Hello folks, and welcome back to the Homestead Skill of the Month Club. I'm Esther Emery and I'm your Master of Ceremonies for 12 skills in 12 months, and really more than that because we do a new thing each week, going through all the skills we can think of to help with a homestead life or with homemaking or simple living or intentional living. Today I'm going to give you a full close-up tour of my homestead binder and all the secrets of my homestead therein. I told you on Thursday that this week is about time management and also record keeping. At which point some of you were like, yes, I get to use my color-coded tabs. And you went right to town and put together some amazing organization. I know because I've seen a few of them in the Facebook group for our Skill of the Month Club. Some of you were like, I'm going to skip this week. I know it. I'm somewhere in between. So those of you who felt like you were going to skip this week, all I ask of you is that you get a binder. You don't have to put anything in it. Just have a binder, either from the grocery store or dig it out of your possessions or find it at a thrift store. But just have a binder, because I promise you, if you stick with me this year, by the end of the year, you're going to have some things to put in it. Also, before I show you the details in here, I'm going to make 2 points in defense of analog record keeping. I don't like to tell people what to do when it comes to homesteading. That's the whole point of having a master of ceremonies at a club, and other people's experiences being just as important as mine. I can't stand the idea that there's one expert who tells everybody what to do in any field, but certainly not homesteading. And yet, I would like to strongly encourage you to experience analog, non-digital record keeping for your homestead or for your household or for your life. And I have 2 reasons why. Many of you know about me that I went for a year without the internet. A thing about me. It was several years ago now. But I have had the experience of really feeling the difference between a life lived in the digital form and a life lived completely analog, without screens, without digital communication. Certainly, I don't dislike digital communication. That would be ridiculous. I'm on the internet right now, and so are you. But I did learn something about attention. The internet is not making us less intelligent. The internet is not making us less productive. What it is doing is giving people access to us. People who want to distract us, not necessarily as individuals, but as entities who have an interest in distracting us, usually a financial interest in keeping us on a particular site or selling us something or showing us advertisements or somehow borrowing a piece of our brain. Almost everywhere you go on the internet, there is someone else's interest there that is trying to keep your attention, trying to hold your attention. And it's like playing with a handicap, basically playing the game of information with a handicap. So if it's been a long time since you read a book or sat with papers without the computer on, I guess I'm particularly talking about a networked computer. You know, it's possible to have this experience with a screen that isn't networked. But if it's been a while since you've done that, I really encourage you to give it a try. You might be surprised how efficient you become when you don't have those kind of metaphorical knocking on your door moments every which way from advertising and other influences on the internet. So that was the first reason why I think that maybe analog record keeping needs a champion. There's a second reason why I think that we have to push back against a certain cultural influence that keeps us from doing this kind of record keeping. And that has to do with perfectionism. It has to do with a kind of manufactured look expectation for our lives. If you are a homesteader already, let me get an amen. Homesteading is messy. Life is messy, right? If you're not homesteading yet and you're just thinking that maybe you're going to get into this, you're going to want to get used to messes because things don't go the way you expect them to. Living systems have chaos in them. It isn't all beautiful. It isn't all pretty. It isn't all perfect. So the idea that your homestead journal or your homestead binder is an expression of that, it's just a great opportunity to practice valuing your ordinary life, getting used to your own handwriting, letting your experiences and your capacities as a producer be worth writing down, worth having a space on your bookshelf. So there's my speech. I hope I didn't come on too strong, but hopefully I've convinced some few of you out there And now I'm going to give you a tour page by page of my own Homestead binder. As I'm doing the curriculum for this club and for some ebooks that I'm writing, I'm creating a lot of printables, things that people can print out to put in their Homestead binder, but I do not have a printer and I don't spend the money to print things in town. So everything is in my own messy handwriting, including my cover, which is kind of cute, right? Well, you know, it's fine. Okay, 2017 goals is the very first page. This was our first assignment in the Skill of the Month Club. I hope that you all have some goals to look forward to accomplishing this year. My second page is a master calendar. So this is just a very general idea of when to expect what on our homestead. I've got a list in the middle here of food storage things that I'm gonna forage or find or harvest by month. This is pretty much what I did last year, so I may add things to it, but this is the list from last year. I've got a column for animals that says when the goats are having babies, when we're doing broiler chickens. I have a column for the garden that says when I'm gonna start seeds, when I'm gonna till, when I'm gonna plant the spring garden, and when the seedlings go out. In the middle of the summer, I don't have any markings for my garden because it's just run. Just do everything I can, right? But then in October, I have a cleanup here. And then I've got two columns for infrastructure and build. They're in a different color because these are the places where I'm interacting with my husband. I'm letting him know in advance what priorities are for the areas that I know more about than he does. And I'm trying to keep track of what his priorities are for the areas that he knows more about than I do. So that's just a very big picture of the whole year for us on our homestead. We also do a weekly punch list. I have tried daily to-do lists and I have tried monthly to-do lists and I ended up with weekly. Weekly is about right for me. And this is my personal to-do list, but it of course incorporates the whole homestead because what I do as a homemaker and homesteader is the whole homestead. So this is all just handwritten at the beginning of the week. I write a list of things that are the most important things to do in the week. There may be some scheduling items down at the bottom. This is my fire board meeting, a public TV thing, and then I have my work obligations also listed. I look at this list very frequently. I love to cross things off. It's kind of fun to look back at the old ones so you can really see how our homestead life has happened, you know, from these old lists. And sometimes we don't make the lists. When the lists fall out, it's usually because we had so much to do that we were working just fine without a list. The lists come in when we need to organize, need to prioritize, need to figure out what's what. And this is an example of one a few weeks out. I make the pages a month at a time, and then I only have to fill them in at the beginning of the week. I have a page for my thrift store list. I think I told folks in another video that I keep a list of things I might need from the thrift store. I also have pages for my pantry plan, what's in the pantry and what's in the cellar. These are my food storage goals for next year that I just copied over from my food storage accomplishments from last year. So it says here, strawberries, my goal is 25 pounds. Apricots, my goal is 1 bushel. Blueberries, whatever I can find. Peaches, my goal is 3 bushels. We did 2 bushels this year and we're about to run out, so I want to get up to 3 bushels. And then there's a space there for me to write whatever I actually accomplish. Couple pages of that. This section is for recipes. I have the family tomato sauce here and lots of canning procedures. We also have another binder for recipes that are more dinner time, breakfast time kind of recipes. This is mostly for food storage. Which takes us to the garden section. I haven't quite finished my garden planning this year. I know some of you are deeply into it, which is why we're going to do garden planning next week for the Skill of the Month Club. For me, I can't even put seeds out I can't even start seeds until March and put them out until, I can start my spring garden in March. But I can't do much in January besides daydream. But that's good for planning. Here's a very rough sketch, a couple different versions. There's this version and there's this version of my garden and what's going where this year. This is another part of the garden. a list of plants in list form. I like to get them all written out so that I can start to check my seed inventory and see what seeds I'm going to need to buy well in advance. My perennials, and a few perennials I'm hoping to add. Oh, and then this is going to be my garden narrative. If I don't write this out and create a format for it in advance, it doesn't happen. I will write some things in my personal journal, which is for my brain dump for everything I'm thinking about, but this is particularly for the garden, so I can write what I planted, when I planted it, where I put it, how it's doing, what yield I get from it. If I don't do this, I'm much, much weaker. It's hard to accomplish a lot as a gardener if you don't have some way of keeping a record. So that's what that's about. And I have another one just like this for my bees. More about our animals. I think I mentioned before that I have a feed list where I write in what feed I buy. I write it down when I buy it. And that's how we keep track of how much we feed the animals. I don't have a page for every animal right now, partly because my animals aren't registered. So I don't have a lot to write down for them. But I do think I'll probably be doing some pasturing records and certainly breeding records as we're getting more into animal husbandry, which is one of our goals for this year. Those are the most important sections, but I also have a list of medicines, herbal medicines that I've made. I have some sort of scratch paper notes for different things, including this video series. And I also have a section for permaculture or design for me to put research for things that I think are cool or would like to try out in the future. Now, if this is starting to feel like a lot for you, thinking, oh my gosh, do I have to make a Homestead binder just like that? Don't worry. All you have to do right now is get the binder. I do think that it's just like food storage. If you have the space for it, then over the course of the year, you'll be able to add things in a way that makes sense in small steps to get you where you really want to be instead of just being stressed out about not being where somebody else is. So this has been the Homestead Skill of the Month Club. I'm Esther and this is Sadie. And we're glad that you're hanging out with us. Happy homesteading, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.